What's up, everybody? Welcome to another IG Live with me, Hector Luis Salamo. I'm the senior editor here at Latino Rebels. Thank you guys for joining. Today, another special guest, Dean Huertas. You guys probably, especially if you're Puerto Rican, but if you're not, probably know him as, the Puerto Rican TikToker, huge influencer. He does a lot of videos, around Puerto Rican culture, history, politics, current events, events in general dealing with Puerto Rico, both the island and the Puerto Rican diaspora. Here he is. I had him on my old podcast a few years back. Now, time flies. And it's great. I can't wait to catch up with him because he's been a busy man. He's been a busy man. So let's get him in here. Here goes my dog.
Test 1 2, testing 1 2.
Hey, what's up, man?
Sorry, hey, what's good, bro? How you doing?
Been a while, man. Hold on.
Long time.
Let me get my Benny. Come here. Good boy. My dog Benny. He's a good watchdog. Anybody comes to the door,
Right.
Hey, sit down. He's all mad. Good to see you, man.
Long time. You look great, bro.
You too, man. Like I was telling everybody, you've been busy. You were on the last podcast. I'm over here fidgeting with shit. I wanted to bring you on as soon as I saw you do the Puerto Rican parade. I knew I wanted to. I know it's been over a month now, but it's hard to schedule you in.
I know,
but
been all over the place.
Exactly, but I introduce everybody, but I want people to introduce themselves. So introduce yourself, and then we'll get chatting, man.
Hola, papi. My name is Dean Huertas, born and raised from the Bronx, New York. I'm currently living out in Puerto Rico right now. I've been out here for a couple years, and I really just started my page. Honestly, was just to show that everybody that knows me that it's not impossible to live in Puerto Rico. But if you're going to live in PR, you have to do it correctly. You can't come out here being a strong, hot-headed New Yorker, or you can't come out here entitled, in American mentality. You have to come out here, live respectful, and live amongst the people. Be respectful, but also amplify for the community. Be the voice for the little guy. Be there for the community. When it's time to show up, it's time to show up and show up for the community and be one with the community. So, and with the past 3 years, it's just been a crazy journey. But nonetheless, I'm just very grateful to still be living here. No matter how many struggles I've been through, I'm still here. And I'm very fortunate enough to say that. I know not a lot of people can say they still can't live here because of work, like social economic system, a lot of things that play a factor into making life different out here. So, but it's been hard, but at the end of the day, like we keep on pushing out here. So
yeah, I mean, it's been crazy to see you like develop into like this. You're basically like this cultural ambassador. Diasporican ambassador for Puerto Rico, and you've done it step by step. Like not even I don't know if that was your goal, but that's what you become, where you just like you explore the island and you share with everybody on TikTok and Instagram and all your social media platforms. And now you're kind of like expert's a strong word. I don't like to call anybody an expert, but you're pretty damn close to being an expert. I mean, you were just with Hector PR, the guy who's been doing the flags are all around the island. I remember like a few years ago, before you even came on my first podcast, you did a video on him, and it feels like he just did his last flag.
Right, that's
in
right.
Carolina.
Oh my gosh, that's right. Because I remember when I first did the video, I was talking about Hector. I think it was either with the flag that they were trying to paint over the flag in Miami, or it was about like the Nike sneakers that didn't really look that good. I felt like Hector could do something with that. Oh my gosh, that's right. Wow, full circle.
Full circle, man. Tell everybody a little bit about him. I mean, what was that like? I mean, you were in Carolina for his last flag,
yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, it's just been a crazy experience. I'm just so grateful to have built a good relationship with the guy because he's seen my videos. I support him in his struggles of him trying to keep the flag up in Miami. And for those who don't know, Hector PR painted a flag in Miami, and he made it for a restaurant supported by Julian Hill, Latin actor Julian Hill, and they did it together. But it was in a district in Miami that is supposedly an old school hotel looking district. So they went against the permit and they kept getting fines daily until they got the restaurant taken down and the flag taken down. So they had to paint over Hector's flag. And that was the big they did. And that was a long process just to fight for that flag.
I mean, the other thing I've been noticing about your TikToks for the past few years is that the way you deal with a lot of hate and a lot of criticism, right? I mean, there's a lot of, I mean, as somebody who wrote about Puerto Rico, I used to write about Puerto Rico a lot. You know, there's a lot of, you know, kind of animosity towards some people on the island, towards people in the diaspora,
right?
Even claiming Puerto Rican knowledge, Puerto Ricanness. You know, we're not really from Puerto Rico is the charge. I mean, explain some of that and some of the stuff that you've gotten your way and how you deal with that.
The way I see it is that there's a lot of layers that go into it. You know, there's a lot of things, because to me, like, it would be very ignorant of me to just can't come out here and just say, oh, I'm just only Puerto Rican, I'm straight PR, I'm Bori, I'm 100%. When I accept the reality that I'm from New York. New York is going to be a big part of my life until the day I die. You know, I'm born and raised from the Bronx, and I take that with pride. I can't just erase that, you know? So I have to say New Yorican, or I'm American Rican, however they want to look at me. But I have to know that I was born and raised in the States. And I feel like when you are willing to present yourself as who you are instead of trying to present yourself as something you're not, you'll get a lot further that way. You know, like, it's easier to admit that, oh, I'm from the Bronx. I'm Puerto Rican, but I'm from the Bronx. You know what I'm saying? And just roll with it. Be with that, you know? And I feel like it's been much more accepted of me just being honest, being truthful and straightforward, and saying, like, listen, I know I wasn't born and raised out here, but I come out here every other summer, or I have descendants living here, and now I'm learning about my heritage here, but, you know, I'm still from the States. I'm still, like, you know, born and raised in the United States and in New York. It's the love is 10,000 times more reciprocated than to just be like, oh, I've been here all my life, or I know everything about here, and I've only been here once, you know? Like, it's like, I'm like, let's unpack that. Let's unpack that, you know? And the love that I received, you know, it's just been great, you know? Just being, it's like, honesty is the best policy. The old kindergarten rule.
Yeah. I mean, all those, I keep telling people, all those cliches that you get when you're a kid, man, the older you get, you're like, man, those motherfuckers that was the truth, man. It's a cliche, but it's the truth. That's weird, man. But I saw you on a podcast where somebody was asking you recently, maybe like a month or so ago, the host asked you, like, I don't know if they asked you if what was better, New York or Puerto Rico, or what do you connect with more? And you straight out said, like, I'm from New York. I'll always be from New York. I'll always be from the United States. Like, I'm from, you know, it's in me. And and that just, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I remember. I mean, it was a Café en Mano podcast. It was a Café en Mano podcast with Juan Victor. Shout out to my boy Juan Victor for bringing me on to his community. He asked me if I did I feel that I missed a part of my identity.
Right.
I be born and raised in the States. And I said, I used to feel like that way a lot, but at the same time, I do and I don't, because, you know, I'm grateful for the very multicultural upbringing I have of being susceptible to other cultures that are not of Latin descent, whether that's Asian, whether that's African descent, whether that's other Latin descents like in the United States, such as Mexican, Dominican, the whole 9 yards. So I'm grateful for being culturally sensitive and culturally aware to other cultures for being in New York. So for me, that's just like, I hold that pride in me. But there was a part of me that missed not being able to live here, because it's not like I can just park my car across the beach all the time, you know?
Why you gotta do it? Why you gotta take it there, man? Why you gotta take it there, dude?
You know? But I'm here now. So that's what most matters to me, that I'm here now, you know, and that I can do what I do now. You know what I'm saying? So,
man, that water looks gorgeous too, man.
Ooh, it's a beautiful day today.
I guess we'll keep this to the 30 minutes, but Yeah, I mean, I feel that because as a Puerto Rican from Chicago, like, there's a lot of shit with me, but like, as a Puerto Rican from Chicago, like, I feel like if you're not from Puerto Rico, you get a lot of crap, right?
Right.
But if you're in the diaspora and you're not from New York or at least the East Coast, then you like outside the diaspora even, right? And so like, sometimes I'll visit I was just in New York and I visit my Boricua friends on the East Coast, and I feel like I miss something, right? I miss that New Yorican culture, right?
Right.
But then again, like you said, like I'm from Chicago. It comes from, Division Street's its own thing. Humboldt Park's its own thing. A lot of times I feel more Chicagoan than Puerto Rican or Honduran or Latino, whatever else
Right.
I am. I'm more from Chicago. You know what I mean? Um, like, and sorry if we're retreading like ground that we covered on our like way back conversation, but like tell people like why you chose to go to Puerto Rico and what was some of the things that either was an adjustment for you. I've heard other people talk about this, or you think like there's a lot of Boricuas in the diaspora thinking of moving to Puerto Rico. What are some of the adjustments that people don't think about or know about?
Well, I feel, yeah, how's it going? Because I even then from our last conversation, I still experienced like a lot of things. I just everything. The what's the word? There's a word when you're accustomed to something. There's the word that you.
Acclimation.
What was that?
Acclimation. You're acclimated. You're
Acclimated. Yes, you get acclimated to convenience. The convenience of having everything at the palm of your fingertips. It's easy to go to the DMV, set up an appointment, go to the DMV. It's easy to get in a doctor's appointment. It's easy to set up a court date. Things like that. Getting your car licensed, it was easier back then, and all I had to do was either go up the block, take a quick train. That convenience was missed of living there versus living here. Living here, I've had to learn that and remind myself this is part of the sacrifice of living outside of my comfort zone, living outside of the United States, because we are a colony. That doesn't mean we are a state. We are still a colony of the United States. That being said, there's going to be a lot of barriers that come along with sacrificing the easy life that you once had, and I feel like that still plays a part to this day. When I went to go to, great example, court today, I got a ticket for obstruction of parking, which I was parked in a pretty non-obstructable spot, but nonetheless, I had to go through a whole different process just to fight for my ticket. Just so I get to the court, I sit with the judge, and he says, all these tickets that everybody got in the course say will be called off. You're gonna get something in the mail, and you're gonna have a good day. I'm like, I could have gotten this in an email just to say that I don't have to get my ticket, But
so
they
American. I could have got this in an email.
right? That's the American in me, Like
Yeah.
that's like this is like, bro, I just could be summed up in an email, like, but whatever. So I'll have to pay the ticket, knock on wood or whatever. But needless to say that those are the little micro things like that play a part in having to adjust every day to living in the colony of the United States,
Yeah, you made a video. I think you made a video again recently about your friend who went down to Puerto Rico and got the same thing, right? Parking ticket, and you had to go to court with him and like in another
Town.
municipality. Yeah, it's like the whole thing.
Yep.
You brought up the word colony. I was wondering who's going to bring up the word colony first. This is Latino Rebels. Everybody knows at least my position, right?
We know what
Um,
you're about. We know what you're about, right?
but we also know what you're about. I mean, but like, how do you really feel about the political status of Puerto Rico, and when do you see that being resolved and how?
Man, I came out here with the mentality that we're gonna fight for independence, or we're gonna vote for independence. That voting's gonna be our way out of independence, because I still very much believe in the independence of Puerto Rico. I believe we are overdue. I believe we are overqualified for an independence of Puerto Rico, and I still stand by that to this very day, And unfortunately, being very vocal about it, I burned a lot of bridges out here, a lot of business opportunity out here. But it's like I gotta stay true to myself, I have to be very honest. The status we're in right now, this whole limbo nonsense, I'm afraid that it's gonna be like this for even longer than we can hope to imagine, And even after with the previous elections, with us removing one political leader only to vote somebody of his same political party back into power, it's like, yo, did we not learn? You know, like, are we not learning? Is it like, I want our people to thrive, but it seems like it's like, I also believe that there's a little bit of, this is me, this is my
Right.
little conspiracy. I believe that there's also a little bit of political voting manipulation that has taken place in the past elections, because, you know, this is a pro USA party that is in charge of running the entire country of PR, you know? And it's always been like this for the past 30, 40, 50 years. They've only, two parties have only ever been in charge, and they both have been pro USA. And not once have you seen a pro independence PR leader come close.
Right.
In the recent election, though, more people have become aware of not voting pro USA parties. It's either been for the people or it's been for independents. Two different parties, Victoria Ciudadana and Independent. I can't always PIP. I always call Pipiolo. Partido Independentista Puertorriqueño.
Yeah.
The pro. It's either been those two, and they've gotten the most in the past 30, 40 years that they've ever voted. They've only gotten like no more than 7,000. This year they got like 100,000, 130,000 votes. So we're seeing a change. I believe that there's a change coming for PR, but what that change will be, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, when I started writing about Puerto Rican politics, maybe like 10 years ago, I thought like it's on the cusp. Like, you know, I'm part of this group of writers that is going to help spark the consciousness of Puerto Rico, and there's going to be a revolution. And then when Rosselló got kicked out, I'm like, okay, here we go, here's the revolution, right? And it didn't happen. So like you kind of touched on it. What do you see as the feeling between among Puerto Ricans on the island and on the diaspora? Because you travel back to the States a lot, right? You talk to a lot of Puerto Ricans there and here. So what do you think the general feeling towards the status question is in Puerto Rico and in the diaspora?
The majority of people I've met have not been in favor of the current party that's in charge, nor the other party that's in charge. But I've seen more of the other party that's in charge, which is the pro-status quo party. I've seen more favor for that versus pro-USA party. It seems that in the conversations I've had with people that live here and people that live over there in the States, is that they're conscious that they know, even I've had many debates with my father too about this too, you know, because me and my father, we challenge each other, but in a good way, to see like how we can challenge our mindsets and growth. And my father was once pro statehood for PR, but then the more we talked about it, I'm like, wow, if you look at states like Hawaii, New Mexico, California, that were once previous other countries and other indigenous lands, he knows now that he's like, wow, actually, I don't think I could be pro statehood, because everybody knows now that they want to keep the culture alive. It's all about
Right.
keeping the tradition, keeping the culture, keeping the identity alive. And they feel like when it comes to being a state, the majority can agree that that'll be the first thing to go eventually. The erasure our identity will be gone with being a state.
That's a good point, because a lot of stateholders, you know, which is what they're called, a lot of stateholders will say like they say that they want statehood, but they also say like, oh, well, Puerto Rico's going to stay exactly the same. It's just going to have more rights. It's like, well, no, that doesn't happen. Like, America's not going to adopt you, and then you get to keep your name, your language, your culture. They want to keep the Olympic team. They want to keep the national basketball team. Like, that's not going to happen.
Keep this universe. They think that's still going to be there, when in reality, it won't. It won't, you know? And even 4th of July out here, I did an experiment. I did a social experiment. I went out of my comfort zone, super. Even going to a 4th of July event, because they do host out here.
Yeah. Wait. What are those like?
It's like another carnival. It's like another carnival. This time it's like more USA involved. But it's still the same exact carnival as if it was for Patronales in San Juan, as if it was Sanse, as if it was La Justas. All that is still the same. but just with a USA flag. And I met pro PR. He never really said he was independent, but I got the vibe he was. He said that, even showing a USA flag at an event like this is illegal. I'm like, whoa. Run that back by me. And he told me that even having USA flag wave in events like non-political events is illegal because we are our own jurisdiction, and that in the case of USA hovering over PR, the USA's flag hovering over PR's flag is a sign of like either you're a state or not, but you can't do this in between stuff. So he made it very clear that even waving USA flag in some events in Puerto Rico is very illegal. I was just like, wow.
Yeah, those are the OGs that they've been following Independentismo for a while, man.
But they don't want to say it. He's just very smart. He never said it, but I was like, I know what you're about. You don't have to tell me.
It's weird. It's like Independentismo is a bad word. It's just a bad word. Like nobody, even if you're against statehood, like you said, most people would rather have the status quo. They'd rather stay a colony for a million years than to vote for statehood, even if it means they'll never be independence. And that's kind of where Puerto Rico's stuck, right in between those two things. But man, I mean, you've had a hell of a year, bro. I mean, what was the thing with the World Baseball Classic? You were like some kind of ambassador. You did that how was that like, man?
The World Baseball Classic was the prime example of what it means to be prideful of your country. Not territory, not colony, of your country. Because when we got presented in the World Baseball Classic by the MLB, it kept saying, Puerto Rico, everybody wave, stand up for your country as we sing the national anthem of Puerto Rico. I was just like, let's go, bro, let's go. So just that alone, showing that representation on an international level besides the Olympics was beautiful, bro.
Yeah.
Was one of the best experiences I've ever seen, and a new tradition with big, tall men that have no hair wearing blonde hair was the funniest thing I've ever seen. I seen a lot of Puerto Ricans that had Karen wigs, that had like the blonde woman haircut, like the bob cut. I was dying, bro. Like it was hilarious, bro.
And then you were in the Puerto Rican parade. That's not the first time you've been in that though, right?
No, yeah, I've been in previous years, but it was either with my frat or as like a guest to walk in the parade with Puerto Rican flags up. Shout out to Puerto Rican flags up. But this year, like I was on my own float with my agency with La Formula Media Group, along with Mi Patria, the non-organization that does great work to uplift the community, to protect the community of Puerto Rico. We had 3 floats back to back of Puerto Rican flags up, Mi Patria, and La Formula, which is my agency. But for Mi Patria, they were right in front of us, It's like we are proud to wave our flag, for every Puerto Rican weekend, but we also want to let it be known that we're here to also uplift PR in the States and in the island, So for me, like, that was an amazing experience seeing that Mi Patria, especially Mi Patria, was there to show face, spread the word, and to always lend a helping hand for the community. And we're still doing mad projects as we speak right now,
And you're collaborating with like other Puerto Rican, influencers. I see you a lot with what is it, Son of Edison, cooking with, I forget her name. Yeah, I mean, but the other thing that's happened, and I want to get your like take on this before we end. And I want to thank you, man, for taking the time to talk to us, man. But the last time I talked to you, last year, Bad Bunny had a huge year, right? He took over world music, you know what I mean? And even somebody like me who wasn't initially a fan of his loved it because Puerto Rico's so tiny, bro. Puerto Rico's tiny. And to have the whole world on a sound, right? No matter where you were from was super, just prideful, right? Like we're tiny, but we're mighty, right? I mean, what did you think of that whole phenomenon? I mean, you obviously were a huge fan of his music, judging by your videos, but like, what did you think of that whole phenomenon and that whole? I mean, he's made Puerto Ricans have always been proud, right? But we're kind of prouder these days. I feel like.
Yeah, I feel like honestly, with the album that he dropped last year, he already, it's been announced yesterday that that album is now the #1 album on Spotify. Like that is breaking boundaries, that is breaking records, you know. And I'm so proud of him as an artist because he's come a long way from the trap era to doing whatever the hell he wants. Literally, that's an album now. Yo hago lo que me da la gana from him, you know. But there's so many things that he's done a long way. I feel when he did, and this has never happened before, when he did his concert of Un Verano Sin Ti last year, around this time last year, that was like the Super Bowl. No, that was the FIFA World Cup Argentina versus France final game. Everybody was watching because he did not only just stream for the entire island to watch, but the whole world to watch. I had people calling me, yo, I was able to find a way to watch it. I had people sitting down like as if they were getting ready to watch the concert in Chicago, California, Hawaii, New York, everybody around the world, even people in Latin America were having live stream parties to watch that. And for me, that was just like, wow, this is our moment.
Yeah.
You know, we were more than just waving our flag once a weekend on the Puerto Rican Day Parade. No, this was like something pure and raw and just so Boricua de Pura Cepa on the island. That's like we've never had anything like this, and I'm so proud of him for that moment, you know. And there's been little controversies here and there, and you know him with little Miss Jenner afterwards.
You think that's done? You think he's done because of that? I mean, he's toast a little bit with a lot of Latinas, especially.
He's on the burner. He's on the hot seat with that. I think. I think somebody told me, and I kind of believe that maybe what's her name? Kendall. I think Kendall's mom was like paying back money to date her. Chase the bag, I guess. Yeah. But I was just like, how you gonna make me gusta la fruta de Puerto Rico, and you just go ahead and date this girl right after? I'm just like, oh, that's a little. That hurt, man. That hurt.
What I loved about Bad Bunny is that my whole life, you know, other Latinos, you know, specifically Mexicans, there's a lot of Mexicans in the United States, always making fun of the way Puerto Ricans talk, right? Always making fun of the way Puerto Ricans talk. You guys don't even speak Spanish.
Yeah, the accent. Woo!
Yeah. And then this guy's yelling at landscapers. Hold on 1 second.
This commercial break is brought to you by Tostitos.
Motherfucker. But then now everybody's talking like, oh, do you know what people other non-Puerto Ricans coming to me? Do you know what Wawa means? I'm like, well, man, like we've been on that, like all these Puerto Ricans saying.
I get fresh when people say stuff like that. I'm like, did you just land on planet Earth? Like,
right.
You know? And it's funny because we've been mocked for our accent so many times because it's a Spanish, yes, but it's a Caribbean Creole accent. You know, we are a mix of the Taino. We are a mix of the African. You know, our dialect is different, just like the DR and Cuba. You know, like our accent is uniquely different because we are Caribbean islands, you know? And we got like the shit end of the stick for our accent. But now todo el mundo quiere hablar como un puertorriqueño. Ahora el puertorriqueño está de moda, el acento boricua está de moda. I'm just like, all right, now we are because you like our music. You know, it's like you mock our accent, but yet you want to pretend, you want to sing our accent cuando más conviene. You know, I'm just like, it's interesting, very interesting. But
yeah, but I'm worried about Benito because not only with the Kendall thing, but Peso Pluma, man, he's now taking the mantle this year, bro.
Let me tell you, I grew up with Mexicans. Part of being blessed in New York,
I'm married to a Mexican. Bro, yeah.
I'm here for the Mexican culture. I'm about the Mexican culture. So Peso Pluma, I'm liking what he's bringing to the table. I'm liking the guy. He's another new guy, you know. But I also believe that, you know, we have our artists, but I also believe that we should be susceptible to any artist that wants to do, if not just as good, but even greater than the guy before them, you know? Because everybody knows Michael Jackson as like the artist of his time. When he was in his prime, he was the artist. And I feel like maybe Bad Bunny could be the Michael Jackson of our time right now. Maybe he just doesn't, he's doing some things that we don't agree with right now, but I'm pretty sure there was a time we didn't all agree with Michael Jackson when he did whatever he did, or things he did along the lines as well. You know, that's still part of being a great artist, that There's gonna be some good.
Yeah.
There's gonna be some bad. You know.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of people who don't agree with a lot of things Michael Jackson did, but let's leave it at that. But you know, I'm gonna say something controversial. I don't think there would be a Peso Pluma now if there wasn't a Bad Bunny, because Bad Bunny he brought trap into Latin music, right? He made it mainstream, and like he brought that swagger into Latin music. And so, at me, all my Mexican followers and friends and family members, at me. There's no Peso Pluma without Bad Bunny. So gonna put it there. But let me before we go, let me know like what's something that sticks out to you in these last years. You know, you started out on TikTok, early adopting, right? Like what, 2017?
Yeah. You've been in the game a
Yeah,
long
man.
time.
You've been doing it for a minute. So like, you know, all this time later, like what is something that sticks out, you know?
Better representation in our Latin community, because now it's like before in social media, like some comments would get away so easily with saying something fresh and never be held accountable. Where on TikTok is like, we'll call you out, and now am I gonna call you out? My friend's gonna call you out, and so's gonna call you out, you know, and that generates the word of a better representation in the community. You know, there's so much more better representation being spread out there, you know, because we would get the shit under the stick representation, poor representation in Puerto Rico, in Mexico, in DR, in Cuba, all got the shit end representation. But now, like today, on social media, I'm learning more from my brothers and sisters of Mexico. I'm learning more from my brothers and sisters of Central and South America, because now it's easier. It's a more accessible information that I can reach, that I can receive from the Latin community. The Latin community representation goes a long way, and I'm so happy that there are more empowerment, like more leaders that are in power of representing our community, you know. So I love that for the Latin community
And
overall.
I mean, me personally, I've learned a lot from you, just your videos. You know, I mean, I've studied Puerto Rican history, you know, through books and in college, but you know, just through your videos, I've learned so much about the island and the history and the culture and the people. And so I want to thank you for that. I love the pop quizzes you did in New York during the parade. I mean, I don't know if I would answer all those questions correctly, but you know, I'm trying. I'm learning, man.
I'm more here because I did that on purpose to let it be known that, okay, not everybody in the States knows about our history, but I started asking those same questions here on the island, and I got the same results. So,
Wow.
okay, then, yo. So wait till you see the more content I have coming out soon.
Well, speaking of, man, let everybody know where they can follow you if they're not following you already, and let them know what, you know, what's coming up.
Follow me on TikTok at Dean Huertas. That is DeanHuertas on TikTok, and then on Instagram, Huertas Dean PR. Hector, I just want to say, man, it was good catching up with you, bro. I appreciate you, bro. Thank you so much for reaching out again, man.
For sure, man. Keep doing what you're doing. You know, educating the rest of us and really represent, man. I really appreciate it, man. From one Boricua to another, man.
One more time.
Oh, come on, man. Go enjoy the beach, man. It's been good seeing you, bro.
Likewise, bro. Much love, man.
Take it easy.
Pa'lante, pa'lante, papá.